Massimo Piattelli-Palmarini, Inevitable Illusions, How Mistakes of Reason Rule Our Minds. Prepare to delve into the fascinating world of cognitive illusions and inevitable illusions. How Mistakes of Reason Rule Our Minds by Massimo Piattelli-Palmarini. While most people are familiar with optical illusions, cognitive illusions remain in the shadows as silent tricksters that influence our decision-making and reasoning abilities. This book uncovers a range of these cognitive illusions and sheds light on the systematic, directional, and somewhat incorrigible nature of these errors in human thinking. Dive in to learn about the factors leading to mistakes, the significance of probability, and how to mitigate the impact of cognitive illusions in everyday life. The book will leave you with a heightened sense of awareness and a fresh perspective on the workings of your own mind.
The traps of cognitive illusions. Cognitive illusions, unlike optical illusions, are common mistakes that people make without being aware of them. These illusions are almost universal reactions to certain situations, and they should lead people to be cautious about their intuitions. This summary presents two examples to illustrate this point. The famous Monty Hall puzzle shows our tendency to make wrong probabilities intuitively. In another example, a syllogism experiment shows how our mind finds it hard to link three distinct propositions. Furthermore, cognitive illusions are general, systematic, directional, specific, and subject to modulation. They are also subjectively incorrigible, non-transferable, and independent of knowledge. Knowing about cognitive illusions should help people avoid these traps in their judgments. Mental tunnels. How our ways of thinking can often lead us to make mistakes, and how we can avoid this by broadening our perspectives. The way we frame a problem can profoundly impact the solution we come up with. For example, doctors viewed a surgery more favorably when told about its high survival rate as opposed to its mortality rate. Such framing of alternatives can lead us to overlook the underlying facts, failing to see beyond the context and missing the big picture. Segregation is another way of thinking that can cause us to overlook the context of a problem. When we focus too closely on a problem and fail to consider its broader context, we can easily overlook crucial information. For example, when given the choice between a certain $100 or a 50/50th chance to win $200, most people prefer the former, despite the expected value of both choices being identical. Conjunction is yet another way of thinking that can lead us to make mistakes. People often confuse typicality with probability, leading them to arrive at inaccurate conclusions. For example, most physicians believe that migraine with nausea is more probable than nausea or migraine alone when, in fact, the latter are more probable. Ignoring base rates is another common mistake people make when trying to solve problems. We often favor stereotypes and overlook base rates, leading us to make improbable choices. For example, most people would choose librarian over farmer when asked to estimate whether a shy, withdrawn, introverted man who is attentive to detail is more likely a farmer or a librarian, despite the fact that farmers outnumber librarians. False causality is another way of thinking that can lead us astray. We must not mistake the cause of a phenomenon with the probability of a causal fluctuation in its consequences. For example, respondents assign a higher probability to a mother having a blue-eyed child than a daughter having a blue-eyed mother, when in reality, both have the same probability. Ignorance of Bayes' law can also lead us to make poor decisions. Bayes' law calculates probabilities based on testing alternatives against each other, but it can be difficult to grasp for those not accustomed to statistical analysis. For example, a witness who testifies that she saw a blue car in a hit-and-run may not be as credible as we think. The actual probability of her being correct is only 41%. The certainty effect is another mental tunnel we must be wary of. We often believe that certainty provides more security, but it is just an illusion. There is no such thing as certainty in the insurance business, only probability. Lastly, the uncertainty effect can paralyze us. When presented with two equally good but uncertain options, we often find ourselves unable to make a decision. For example, students who were given the chance to go on vacation to Hawaii after taking a difficult test wanted to know their results before reserving tickets, despite their original intentions to reward themselves for passing or console themselves for failing. In conclusion, the way we think about problems can significantly impact our decision-making abilities. By broadening our perspectives, considering context, and being aware of common mental tunnels, we can improve our problem-solving and decision-making skills. Pitfalls to beware. The book warns readers about cognitive illusions that can lead to major errors in judgment. These illusions include overconfidence, magical thinking, hindsight predictability, anchoring, representational facility, probability blindness, and reconsideration under different scripts. Cognitive illusions arise from the border between psychology and logic and can lead to severe outcomes such as wars, unjust imprisonments, and racist judgments. The author advises readers to exercise discipline, study, and dedication to avoid these pitfalls.
In Inevitable Illusions, Massimo Piattelli-Palmarini has revealed the astonishing world of cognitive illusions, detailing their systematic and directional nature as inadvertent tricks our minds play on us. Through examples and experiments, the book uncovers typical human errors, from neglecting base rates and overconfidence to magical thinking and hindsight predictability. Forgiving intuition where probability is concerned, it warns against the danger of relying purely on gut feelings. As a takeaway, readers are urged to adopt a more disciplined and educated approach to tackle cognitive illusions, ensuring sound reasoning and better decision-making. By recognizing these illusions, we empower ourselves to identify potential pitfalls and act more rationally in our daily lives.